Folks, welcome to a new episode of the Crowd Assist podcast. I think we just had our draft show, big draft extravaganza last week. So is this
Ooh,
season
extravaganza.
3 now of the Crowd Assist podcast? Can we just say it's season 3 premiere tonight on this beautiful Friday night? We have had a week to digest the draft. We've had a week to stew on it and go over our thoughts. We're ready to talk about it. I'm joined by none other than Jake Micah, your friend Jake of Happy Hour Hoops. And for season 3 of the Crowd Assist podcast, a new character joining the fold. Jake, how we doing?
Sometimes, season 3, that's usually when they add a new character in to spice up the show. So I'm glad to be that for the Crowd Assist podcast. You know what's hilarious is you said season 3. I was just sending out our tweets and we had 3,103 tweets sent from the Crowd Assist podcast as I was sending it out. That's the universe. Just like that's all I need to know. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. Right
I didn't even know if this was actually season 3, but that is all I needed to know right there.
It is now.
Huge.
It is now.
Absolutely huge. And like you said, we need that spicy character to keep the things going. You are that guy, so welcome. So like I said, we've had a week now to sit over the NFL draft, think about it, because it was a wild draft. I know it wasn't as exciting as people thought, but there were a lot of weird picks. A lot of uncertainty heading into it. Nobody knew who the first overall pick was going to be. The Bills, obviously, have to talk about them. Tons of trades. The Patriots. I mean, Jake, initial thoughts, not Bills related yet. Just what are your initial thoughts on the draft right away?
So I guess the biggest thing that you're gonna hear from new character Jake all year is I'm as every good red-blooded American is. I'm most interested in the quarterbacks of every draft, every league, whatever. That's what I follow most closely of anything football related. And this was the weirdest quarterback draft we've ever had. It got a lot of talk about how these guys were not, it wasn't a top tier draft by any means, but usually you still see like 2 or 3 of these guys sneak into the first round because everybody's convinced, quarterback's so important. We need to get a guy, pressure from other organizations. So I don't know. The biggest question I have is more like a big picture question about quarterbacks is, are these teams getting smarter now? Like you can win with average quarterback play and you should build out your roster. And if you're looking at it from a Bills way, is it kind of Bills inspired because, the start of this build, the way they didn't go quarterback right away, went everything else around it, then got the guy. Obviously the caveat there is Josh Allen's not just any other guy, but that's another conversation for another day. I'm really interested in that and how that develops. And if one of these guys is going to prove a lot of teams wrong and turn into a superstar, because I still think, Sam Howell was going to be the number 1 pick going into this year. And he lost basically all his weapons going into the year.
Spencer Rattler was going to be top 10.
Exactly. Yeah. Seeing those come up over this week was kind of hilarious. But I'm just like, one of these guys, realistically, whether it's Willis, Ritter, whatever, one of them's going to turn out. And I just wonder I've been looking through articles trying to see what the drop off was for. And it feels like there's been a shift with that. So that was the biggest thing overall from the draft that kind of caught my eye.
Yeah, that's pretty much mine there too. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Malik Willis. I was the whole draft process. I think he did nothing but help himself during the draft process. And I was fairly confident he was going to go in that top 10. I was like, there's no way that the Panthers and the Falcons and even the Seahawks pass on a chance at Malik Willis here. I think he's the talent. They're worthy of top 10. Then I see Kenny Pickett taken above him after he slips out. Then I don't even hear his name called day 1. I mean, I think he ended up in a great spot, though. I think the Titans aren't just taking him to, be a guy. You already have Ryan Tannehill saying, I'm not going to mentor this guy. I mean, we're watching the same film. We're practicing together. He's a threat to me. He's a good football player. Exactly, if he learns from me, I guess that's a good thing because it helps the team. But I think he's a threat. Ryan Tannehill's money this year, if you were to cut him, his dead cap would be about $58 million. Next year, that goes to about $18 million. So you think Tannehill is a bad year? I don't know. He's getting older. In the next couple of years, his money's not as big as it's right now. Give Malik Willis that redshirt year in Tennessee, who I hate the Titans, but I love Malik. I think he could be a guy that they are planning for a future around, who I think, there's a few guys like that around the league. Maybe a Kyle Trask in Tampa Bay. I mean, if Brady was going to retire, Tampa probably would have wrote out Trask. He was a pretty high pick last year, a good prospect, learned a year under Brady. Same thing's going on in Minnesota with the Vikings and Kellen Mond behind Kirk Cousins now. You're seeing these guys, like you said, teams are getting smarter. They can take these talented guys, let them go a couple years behind a starter, and then if the opportunity arises, save some money, make a move. Things, they have that opportunity there, but still crazy to me. No quarterbacks taken until pick 20, and it was Kenny Pickett. And even just the picks going. Trayvon Young, first overall. That wasn't guaranteed. Then you have Sauce Gardner not being the first corner taken. Derek Stingley going third. We had Drake London as the first receiver off the board. I mean, there was no predictability to this draft, man.
And it felt like a draft going into it from just everything you had gathered and heard and read and whatever else, is that it was like a draft of like a lot of very good like second and third round talent. Like there was and it really dropped off. The receiver run happened, right? It was funny because we were on the stream and we all were like, after pick 10, like we're just expecting chaos. And what happened? 11, 12, and 13 all got traded right away, back to back to back. It's like, okay, like, because that's where the talent drop off really was. And it was those receivers and then kind of Kyle Hamilton, Jordan Davis, whatever that right around 14, 15, I guess kind of like an NBA like lottery draft is where the talent really just shook. And then it was just where we saw weird value, who valued who, whatever. Obviously the Bills value on a cornerback, which is what we all were kind of hoping for. In a way, they found that moving up just 2 spots to go get a guy where it's like, okay, why are they moving up? But it's just like at that point, a lot of teams are just like, we need to go get our guys. One of the interesting ones that I'm sure we want to keep making fun of is the Patriots with Cole Strange, a very interesting pick at 29. Yeah. But that was kind of the example. That's like the most extreme example of what this draft kind of was, is just guys were all over the league. The league's boards were just all over the place, and guys were just taking it wherever they felt comfortable. It's like, we like this guy, let's just go get him where he is. And it was a lot of fun though. I mean, it kept it interesting damn near all the way through, through day 3.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like you said, it kept it interesting. Guys were slipping, big names you saw, and there were reaches. You'd like to pick on the Patriots for Cole Strange, but I mean, you can even pick on them for that Thornton pick. Weird draft from Billy.
The fact that he's the guy that started the wide receiver run in the second round, like all those like
I wasn't
all those like tertiary guys. It was it's just nuts. Like we're gonna be looking back at that. We could be looking that back on the time, and be like, dang, the Patriots started the receiver run with that, because a lot of guys there, I think it was Aaron Schatz from Football Outsiders that said we had him in undrafted free agent range, which is not where you want to be to any analytical football thing. Whatever you think of analytics one way or the other, you don't want your second round pick to be considered undrafted free agent. So those are the questionable decisions. I mean, from the Patriots draft, and probably why Bills fans are feeling a little better about the draft as a whole.
Well, going back to the AFC East, we got to talk about it. The Jets won the draft. The Jets absolutely won this draft. I hate to say it. I mean, everyone's saying it. It's incredible how they pulled this off. I mean, like I brought up earlier, Stingley going above Sauce, so Sauce falling right into their laps, which, was projected a lot of places, but I mean, it just worked out perfectly for them. Then they get Garrett Wilson, who I think was their guy, right there at 10.
Well, I don't know about you. What do you think about Wilson compared to London? Because I thought I was higher on Wilson than I was London anyway, so I felt like that was perfect as well for the Jets.
London going first surprised me. I think London makes sense for Atlanta, though, because Atlanta, their quarterback, who knows what's going to be going on there, Marcus Mariota, I guess. I don't know. But London kind of feels like the most quarterback-friendly receiver of those, big 4 that were all drafted around the same spot there. And he feels quarterback friendly. He's kind of reminds me of Calvin Ridley a bit. He just makes sense for them. They couldn't really risk it, where I think he might be like the safest guy of those.
Yeah,
honestly, even though I liked all Williams, like Olave, and Wilson more. Yeah, highest floor, but like lowest ceiling of those top 4. Yeah, exactly.
I feel that. Okay. But then Jermaine Johnson, too, as you were going to jump into, was people were putting him in the top 10, like a high riser.
I had a prop at him like under 11.5. I'm like, yeah, Jermaine Johnson, he's a top 10 guy. He's incredible.
That one. Yeah, that's not a good, that didn't end up well. But that's the crazy thing, is that they snag him late in the 20s. And so theoretically, if a lot of people on their board, maybe they have 3 top 10 guys. And I mean, that's a win too. And for the team that just needs talent everywhere, like, and Salah, did you see the little clip of Salah telling Sauce, like, you were the guy the whole time, no matter what? Salah's done great work with cornerbacks. Obviously, in his career, we've seen the kind of work that he's been able to do, and that's a guy that just has a lot of natural talent. I think Garrett Wilson, maybe Drake London would have been a better thing for Zach Wilson, because the biggest question is going to be his accuracy going into the year. And I think that you're onto something with Atlanta. They've got Pitts and London now, so whoever's going to be their quarterback next year, they've at least got 2 big targets somewhere on the field to send it to. So yeah, the Jets, though, I mean, it's they've added talent, but are they better than the Pats or the Dolphins yet? Even like, have they? No. Are you at that point, or are they still 4th place hanging out there?
I think they're still 4th place. I mean, that depends on what you think of Tua Tagovailoa, who I don't hate. I still think it plays out the same as last year. This year, I think it's Bills, Pats, Dolphins, Jets, but the Jets are going to be a better team. You know, you can't guarantee that sweep in the AFC East, that 5-1 that we've had the past 2 years. With just, you know, these teams getting better. Patriots might not have had the best draft, but they had a pretty good offseason, and they were in the playoffs last year. Like, as much as we like to rip on Mac Jones and the post-Brady era Patriots, they were still a playoff team somehow. That team finds a way. And the Dolphins are just absolutely loaded with talent right now on both sides of the ball, and it really just comes down to Tua and the coaching. We're going to see what happens there. So the Jets, there's an opportunity for them, and you know, if I could see their win total being set at like 8, 7.5, which
I would rip that under so hard.
I'd like the under, 8, but everyone likes to say the AFC West is a buzzsaw, but for the Jets, the AFC East is a buzzsaw right now, because
for sure
they're not overtaking the Bills, they're not overtaking the Patriots, and they're not overtaking the Dolphins, in my opinion, yet. So
yeah, I think that's the biggest for them. The biggest thing is, it's like the AFC East, the floor again, we're talking about floors all over the place here, but the floor has risen on the AFC East. That's pretty much the baseline of it. Like, the Bills are still in a tier up here, and these teams are gaggled down here, but they're definitely all improved from where they were last year. But yeah, I think that one of the things we're gonna have to look at with the AFC East schedule this year, though, is that it's 2 tough divisions that they're dealing. I mean, I guess the NFC North is your idea of a tough division, but playing the Packers and the Vikings this year will be a challenge for any of those teams. But playing the AFC North AFC North games are wars every week when those teams play each other. So any year that we have to play the AFC North, like, I'm always just wary about it, because those teams it's just different physical kind of football. And it's going to be tough on teams like the Jets are not favored against any AFC North team in a game this year. There's no way at all. So that's where I'm like, I'll take that under wherever. I would love if they set it at 8. Oh man, that would be beautiful. Now I'm trying to juicy one,
and I don't hate Zach Wilson, but his development so far just hasn't been ideal. Rough rookie year on numerous fronts for him. I still don't hate him. There's adding more talent for him. Things could play out for him. I mean, he could be the 3rd best quarterback. He might be the 2nd best quarterback in the AFC East. There's still a lot to be told with that. We're going to see that play out this year, but enough talking about the guys the Bills play this year, and let's talk about the Bills. Let's just go pick by pick through these first few picks for us. Starting out, Kaiir Elam, first pick for the Bills, pick number 23, moving up to get him the last first-round grade on Brandon Beane's draft board. It makes me think he traded up there with McDuffie going at 21 there. I don't see them taking Quay Walker. They knew the Packers weren't going to go corner most likely. It's one of the few things they don't need. And so losing McDuffie, Beane didn't want to risk it there. Kaiir Elam, what are your thoughts? You go first.
I think I was okay with it I was okay with it no matter what, if they were going to pick a cornerback, but I wanted it to be the right cornerback, and if that's the value where Beane saw him at, then that's great. I think the worries about Elam are valid in the reason that he's going to have to pretty much step in immediately no matter what and play meaningful snaps, right? Like, whether Trey Davies is playing week 1 or not, I think that they basically just said, like, this kid's going to come in and we're just going to live with it. So he does trust his ability a lot. He does take chances that have been, that have worried the scouts, and that's kind of probably where his decision making and things like that. But I think this is a staff that has just shown that what they can do with any cornerback talent. Basically, I think that they think that they could have went out there with whoever else they had. And felt like they could have put together a good unit if Trey Davies was healthy all year. And this is kind of the ultimate insurance policy, but it also gets you a cost-controlled asset of a guy that they clearly see potential in being a star with the physical traits that they have with him. So lowest scenario, they need him, and he maybe isn't, maybe he still takes too many chances, and maybe they can't trust him in many scenarios this year. But they can kind of beat that out of him in this first year, and Dane can kind of fill in those holes when Trey Davies is getting healthy. But I think best case scenario, this dude's an athletic freak, which was the best thing about him coming into the draft. And this is the best defensive secondary coaching in the NFL and development, I think, with the way that it's turned out, and the best pass defense in the NFL. And he's really going to be able to hide. I mean, if Trey Davies comes back and looks like himself, he's out there with 3 All-Pros. So really, whoever you like, me and you could get put over there, and they could probably put together a decent defense and put it together something. So I'm very bullish on what it's going to look like. I think that because of the coaching, the risk is kind of mitigated with the pick, where if he went to another situation, like if Elam went to a bad situation with an unstable coaching environment and not a good developer, I think that he could end up like a very big bust regardless, just because of the habits that they kind of have to change. But they're all coachable habits. So it's more trust. All these picks are going to be about trusting the regime. That's going to be a theme throughout all this. But this is a guy I think is tailor-made for Sean McDermott to mold into another version of Tre'Davious White.
No, I agree with you there 100%. Now, Elam wasn't one of my top guys. Losing McDuffie, though.
Me neither.
I'm confident that the trade up was because McDuffie was the guy they were hoping for. He gets taken. They get scared. Elam, I believe that was their last first-round grade. Elam's a first-round type of guy. He just wasn't my favorite guy for the pick, which was because you brought it up. He's not pro-ready, technically, according to most people. And that's what we need right now. Tre'Davious White, people are expecting him. Some people I see on Twitter in my mentions yelling at me when I'm saying we're taking a corner that Tre'Davious White's going to be on the field in August. Now, we have no timetable for him, but ACL's 9 to 12 month recovery. He's a guy we're heavily invested into. He's a huge cornerstone of this team. We're not a team that needs to win this year. We have important pieces locked down. I'm not saying we're not going to win without him on the field, and him not being there, he's not going to be there for a long time, but we're not going to rush him back. I don't expect them to rush him back at all. I don't see Tre'Davious White playing like the first month, maybe even 2 months of the season. So getting that corner was huge. Now, can Elam step up? Is this offseason going to be enough for him to get used to this team, get pro ready, get up to NFL speed? I hope so. I mean, you saw him immediately asked Brandon Bean after he was drafted to send him a playbook. He wants to start studying right away.
Put the playbook on the plane.
Yeah, one of the things the Bills liked about him apparently was the notes he brought to their pre-draft interview there.
Yeah, and he comes from a great lineage. His dad was a safety in the league. His uncle had his uncle's only career interception. Did you see that? Was in Buffalo.
JP Losman.
JP Losman. One of them. I don't know. It was it was in that year, so it could have been either one. But that's his only interception in there. So I mean, when you have guys like that have the lineage, like that's all from those guys. Like this is what you need to do to succeed in the league, and that's like how old is he? He's 22 years old. Like.
Yeah,
there's obviously a lot of problems. I think I mentioned this on the draft podcast. I think a lot of those development problems, you can also just kind of blame the University of Florida, who, if you go look at if you follow college football close enough, know that they've been a mess basically for the last 5-6 years. His entire time he was there, they haven't been great at developing talent. And there's definitely been a lot of problems. and within that, just
tease Tabor.
Exactly. So that could be a big thing of it too, is that maybe if he went to another school, we'd be talking about him as a top 10 guy because he was developed more and got the right coaching. So that's a big thing.
And comment here, I read if you go by his 2020 tape, he could have been one of the best corners in this draft. I mean, yeah, 2020, he was all SEC. I think he had like 20 pass breakups. He was an electric player last year.
Florida was a
Not
lot
that
better of a team that year,
Florida,
too.
that's
So,
the thing.
yeah.
Last year, his play didn't really descend. It was more just the team descending. He dealt with an injury. I know he missed 3 games. It wasn't a huge deal, but he still was great. He's been a first-round talent guy for, coming into this year and throughout the year. Still a first-round talent. It's just the pro readiness, questioning Florida coaching, things like that. But I just, and at the end of the day, in Brandon Beane, we trust. I trust in him. He's proven me wrong time and time again. I'm no draft expert. I just like to watch college football. But all right, so we got Elam out of the way. We agree. Good pick. What the Bills need to do is go corner, and it's a guy who can grow into a great player, opposite Trey White.
At the very least, like it's probably going to end up being an improvement on Levi Wallace, just because he's just has more potential to be more of an impact player. So if they have that guy for 5 years rather than paying Levi, that's a win, right? That exactly. You need the wins on the margins are going to be the biggest thing for this team going forward.
Yep. But let's go into the Bills' second round pick. Everybody thought running back second round. If it's not first round, guys like Breece Hall, guys like Isaiah Spiller, who I love, Kenneth Walker, who knows who could have fallen to the Bills, but we go with James Cook, national champion out of Georgia. My initial thoughts,
hell yeah.
I think I tweeted it right after we took him. I watched a decent amount of James Cook tape. He's the Bills running back 2, maybe 3 if you like Saquon. You can say whatever. The backfield's going to be a mess. They're going to take a few weeks to figure it out. But he's like the Bills wide receiver 4 right now. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. Not staggering numbers, but it was a crowded Georgia backfield. Everybody had their roles. And when he got his chances, I mean, he's got a highlight reel of catches, making incredible catches, consistent catches. His yards after the catch are impressive. He's just an electric guy out of the backfield, and that's something the Bills were missing. That's something they obviously wanted when they missed out on J.D. McKissic. So, I'll take the exciting rookie on the rookie deal over the vet like J.D. McKissic. I'm a fan of this pick. He's not somebody who's really on my radar for the Bills, but we took it, and I didn't hate it. Didn't hate it at all.
No, I did this. James Cook was one of my favorite targets for a day 2 guy, whether it was second round or third round. Same thing as you, just the receiving potential. It's just a dynamic that they've haven't had with Josh Allen in this kind of offense. And just thinking about him in a set with 3 receivers, Diggs, Davis, whoever else you want to put out there, and Knox, and he's the running back in this, and everybody else is downfield, Josh scrambling around. James Cook is going to make those plays where we haven't really had a guy who could just make those plays into boom plays. He's going to be the one that can do that. And I think those are the plays, like those, just a play where nothing's happening and he can turn 5 yards into 25 yards out of the backfield and stuff like that. We haven't really had that. The screen game has not really been developed in Buffalo since, the LaShawn McCoy days. I think that he's going to open up all these little different dynamics where it's just going to be so hard to defend them down the field, knowing that he's a threat underneath. That being said, I'm with you. He's more of an RB2. This backfield's going to be a mess. I don't think that they give up on Zach Moss. I really think that Duke Johnson probably ends up the odd man out there, because I don't think that they would want to cut bait with a third round pick from recent years. That's just their MO. Like they'd rather invest in the guys that they've already had, in the system and everything. Like if they were going to cut those kind of guys, Cody Ford would have been gone 2 years ago, and this man's still on the roster and is going to be. So Moss is going to, he's going to want to try to to get his time in there. And I'm sure they're going to give him plenty of opportunity. So Cook is really going to be the focus of the passing game and everything, but he could probably be dynamic. And the sets that we've seen them run with McKenzie and such, I think he can run similar things, similar packages, and be just as effective. It's just a great pick to add to their fastball, which is something that they really needed to do in this draft at some point, because they didn't really doing it in a meaningful way in free agency. And this was the best possible way to do it in this moment, I think.
Yeah, I just think it's a home run pick. You hit the nail on the head there, but not a home run pick. I mean, in Beane we trust. The Bills' third round pick, Bernard Terrell Bernard, linebacker out of Baylor. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is a guy, we're ripping on the Patriots for reaching. You could say this was a reach by pretty much every possible projection.
Yeah.
This is a day 3 guy in most people's books, but Brandon Beane's not most people, so I'm going to choose to believe in it. A crazy, crazy productive guy in college with Baylor. 2022 Sugar Bowl MVP. I mean, the dude had 2 sacks, 20 tackles, PBU. He's all over the field, but in the NFL, he's not going to be able to do that. He's a string bean. He's a smaller, skinnier Matt Milano, honestly, which Matt Milano, criticized pick, later round guy, developed into an incredible overall linebacker for the Buffalo Bills. So that's where I have a bit of faith. But all signs point to like him being Milano's backup and just a special teamer at this point in the 3rd round. Are they hoping they maybe get that diamond in the rough? You know, a guy, like I said, crazy productive in college, used in a lot of ways, but feels like he's a lot like Matt.
So is it just the point? So there was a lot of people that talked before the draft about them potentially picking like a safety round 1 or trading back to get like a Lewis Sign or your boy Dax Hill if they could have, somebody like that. I feel like this is kind of that pick in the top 3 where this is the eventual Milano replacement. Milano is going to be 30 pretty soon here. And I think after either next summer or the summer after, they can cut him for a pretty big savings chunk of like $8 million or 7.5 million, something like that. So they're like I said, on the margins, they're going to be looking for cap space like that. If this is a guy that they think they can develop and kind of morph into that role, that's where I kind of see this as more of like a future telling. This is the guy that's going to end up being in that spot. And plays more very similarly to Milano, like the crazy production in college. He is all his tape is just him all over the field. Yeah. And that's like that big nickel kind of linebacker safety role. He kind of looks like he fits that mold. And the Bills have been looking for that guy desperately. I mean, they've had opportunities to try to get it, but they just haven't figured out exactly that guy. So it kind of feels like he's that guy. But worst case scenario, Dodson and Smith definitely could have some competition for those backup linebacker roles. And Edmonds and Milano have both missed time each of the last 2 years at some point during the season. So they think that's a big position they needed. AJ Klein did it serviceably. I think he earned his respect after I think at the early bit of tenure, everybody was out on AJ Klein, and then it came back around. But so I think that's definitely the role. It's for depth right now, and then hoping they can develop him into basically, like you said, the other Milano. But it was an interesting spot to take a linebacker when you felt like, you know, offensive line is the big thing that I thought they would go at early in the rounds, which they did not.
Yeah, I was worried we were going to take offensive line. Not that it would have been the worst pick, but they just showed their faith in their guys. Roger Saffold, he's getting up there in age, but he's a great, great guard. I think he's going to be fine this year as long as he's healthy. And Ryan Bates, national media just thinks Ryan Bates is a career backup when we've seen what he can do. I think they trust him a lot. I think that's the starting guard combo heading into this season, and I'm okay with that. But getting away from, you know, the questionable pick, going into what I think is an absolute home run. My favorite pick of the draft. In my mock draft, I had the Bills taking Cleo Shakir at pick 89. And in my head, I'm like, I love that value. So shout out to Brandon Beane for being smarter than me and for the board for playing how it did. Getting Cleo Shakir there at, what was it, like pick 148? An absolutely insane value. A 4-star recruit coming out of high school, goes to Boise State, kind of disappoints for a little bit, and then last year has an incredible season. You know, almost 80 catches, over 1,100 yards, 7 scores. He just looked great, and we lose a guy like Cole Beasley. I know everybody wants Isaiah McKenzie to be that guy or Marquez Stevenson to step up, but Khalil Shakir is electric as a returner, and I think he is going to be an incredible slot receiver given some time. Now, he doesn't need to be that guy this season. We have Jamison Crowder. People forget that sometimes. I forget that a lot of the time. But Khalil Shakir can step in. He plays a lot like Cole Beasley. He's a slot guy who can go on the outside. He can push the boundaries, plays with a ton of leverage, and he's quarterback friendly. He loves to find the soft zones. He doesn't just drag around the field, you know, drift off on his routes. He is always there watching the quarterback's eyes at the end of his routes, adjusting when needed, finding, you know, those soft spots, like I said, in the defense. I think this is an absolute home run pick and a guy who can contribute to this team immediately.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. You put it nail in the head. You said it perfectly there about Shakir. You loved his value. That's one of the craziest things is that a lot of people pegged him as a second or third round talent.
Yeah.
But just the way the receiver board, like, it's just too many receivers. Everybody got their guy, and then nobody needed to pick a receiver at that point. And it just fell. I mean, I can't imagine how happy Brandon Beane was to see that guy there still in the 5th round, because I'm sure that he was higher on their board than a 5th round talent. I think that one of the things we just talking about the Bills receiving core as a whole, Jamison Crowder can play a little bit of outside receiver. He's more effective as a slot, but he has played the X and the Y a little bit, out there a little bit. So that's where I wonder if Shakir, has that bigger role, because Crowder maybe slides over as the main backup of Diggs and Davis, and he can kind of sit behind McKenzie in those roles and do whatever there. But I think definitely as a returner is where they saw a lot of value with him. They've been looking for somebody in that returner role for so long now, and he is an electric returner. This kid just breaks ankles. Like, he's gonna break. I feel like week one, he's just gonna break some corners' ankles, and he's gonna make some, all the Twitter highlights and everything, because he did it in every single game this year. He's a crafty route runner. He's got great speed. He has great hands. He's like a bulldog. He's not afraid of contact. He's not afraid of any of that. It's going to be exciting. Fun fact, in my Madden season, which I'm in like 2025, 2026 now, Cleo Shakir is still on my Bills receiving core and has won returner of the year at least one time. So just saying, maybe that was before this season even started. Cleo Shakir was drafted. So got to be a good sign, I think.
Yep, 1000%. I can't like you just said. I hope he does something awesome week one. I hope he wins that punt returner job, that kick returner job this offseason, and we get that excitement back, that safe excitement back at returner. Mm-hmm. But we want safe excitement. I mean, this is just excitement all around here with the Bills 6th round pick, 180th overall, the punt god out of San Diego State, Matt Araiza. Jake, I'll let you pick this one off.
I'm so excited. I can't believe that he is the 3rd punter drafted in this scenario where the Bills snagged him. It's so nuts. And don't get me wrong, as the Penn State sympathizer I am, I love Jordan Stout. And that's where I was hoping the Bills would end up with, because I figured Araiza was going to be gone long before the Bills would consider picking a punter. And he wasn't, and he's just sitting there waiting for him. This is the most exciting development by far of this Bills draft. I mean, you could talk about whatever else. Everything else is exciting because we're Bills fans. We wanted to see them, fill in what they needed to do on the rest of the roster and round out this Super Bowl contending team and everything. That's all good and exciting. But when you can get the punt god, and we're going to get, what we're going to get this summer at St. John Fisher, right? It's going to be Josh Allen versus Matt Araiza, leg versus arm.
I want to see
it. That's all I need. That's all I need in my life. I didn't know I needed it until I knew I needed it. So I think the thing, like, he's gonna be, the whole thing about him is has never held in his life. And Matt Hack is, quote from Brandon Beane, an elite holder. So I'm giving credit to Joe Biscaglia. Hashtag Holdapalooza is going to be coming at St. John Fisher. But I don't think that this kid's potential is too much. They should invest in him. You can figure out how to hold a football. Like, it's really not that difficult. I feel like if this kid's an athlete,
he posted a video of himself holding it. What was it, yesterday? I think taking a leg,
sending out the propaganda. There we go.
Yep, exactly. He's already planting in everyone's mind. He's putting in that work. I love to see it. Having a punter like that is just exciting. He can even serve as a place kicker. God forbid, we ever see an injury to Tyler Bass in a game and we need somebody to kick. And he's just an electric dude. It's crazy how he was the 3rd punter taken, like you said. Shores up a questionable position for the Bills. But moving on, the last 3 picks here, I'm not going to lie, I don't know anything about these guys. 6th round pick, Christian Brent Benford out of Villanova. I've seen people say this is a sneaky guy, probably going to make the Bills practice squad develop. We know how we love developing corners on that practice squad. You can ask Dane Jackson how that worked out for him. You can ask Cam Lewis, who's probably going to be up to start this year if all goes well in camp, how that's going for him. And, other guys, who'd we have on there last year? Elijah Griffin, Nick McLeod. We love our corners on our practice squad. That seems what it's going to be with Benford. Then Luke Tanuta out of Virginia Tech, finally a lineman. And then Balen Spector, linebacker out of Clemson. I don't see either of these guys making the roster. I don't know.
And that's the thing is not all these guys are going to make the roster. Like this team is too good. Like they can't.
Yeah.
Not all these guys are going to make the roster. That's why it was worth it to trade up twice in this draft because like he's like I'm not going to give roster spots to all these guys. So
like who was it? The Ravens? Didn't they have like 5 picks in like the 4th round or something like that?
Yeah,
like,
they're
insane.
nuts.
It's like
they're
it's like how are you getting these guys on your roster? How are you fitting them on? The Bills have a built roster. We have a deep roster. I think the top 5 picks make it. I don't see how they don't. Maybe they realized Bernard is awful and he doesn't go. I'm just kidding. Terrell, I'm sure you're a good dude, but I see Shakir making it. I think Areza's going to be our punter. Yeah. You don't draft a punter that early not to. Bernard's a 3rd round pick. It's hard not to see him make it. I guess you can maybe question Cook, but you're not going to not have a 2nd round running back on your roster. That's just dumb. Yeah.
I think I think the battle was there.
Are we holding 4 running backs heading into this season?
No, I think Duke Johnson is
I'm not even considering Duke Johnson as the 4th. What about Taiwan Jones?
He's on the roster.
He's on the roster. He's on the roster.
Here's who I think it is as we're talking about Terrell Bernard, might be Matakevich, who can still save like $5 million on the cap getting rid of.
That would make sense. And
if they could get some more depth with that money somewhere, that seems like the guy they could. And then they got because you just drafted the linebacker. That's the guy who I think it is because they love Taiwan Jones, man. I mean, he could be the special team. You can't sign 2 special teams aces if you're a Super Bowl team. Like it's a great luxury to have, but sometimes it's not going to work out that way. I feel like that's where we can leave a mark. But who knows? It's going to be interesting. It really like last year I talked about all year before the season that this was the most loaded team, the deepest team in the NFL, most loaded team, no holes, and then they got better this offseason. So I really have no complaints.
I just love Brandon Beane. It was a great draft. And we'll close things out with, I know this is cliche. We haven't seen these guys play a snap, but we have to do it. We just have to, Jake. What is your grade for the Bills draft? Let's hear it.
Damn it. I was going to see if we could get out of here without draft grades.
I hate doing it. I'm sorry, but we have to. We just have to.
I'm going to go with a B+. B+.
Okay.
A B+. No 4th round pick they ended up with. So that takes away some value, even though they end up with the punt god in the 6th round. Yeah. I'm going with the Bernard pick because might not be an impact guy, and they probably could have used maybe an offensive line depth or a safety. But I think they believe in Jaquan Johnson a lot with that safety situation. That's why they didn't invest there. I think they like their guys. But I'll go with a B+. I love Jaquan Johnson too, so I don't blame him.
Yeah, I'm okay with not having Dax Hill if it means Jaquan Johnson can get his deserved playing time this year. But I hate you. I should have gone first. B+. I can't be constrained because that's my grade for them. I'm not going to give them an A-.
No, they don't deserve an A. They don't deserve an A, but they did everything right.
But it's better than a B, in my opinion. Exactly. They took the cornerback 1st round. It wasn't one of the guys I wanted, but who cares what I want? I'm not Brandon Beane. They went running back 2nd round, which I wanted, but it wasn't one of the guys I wanted, so who cares? I trust Brandon Beane. And then, Bernard, I'm not going to lie. I'm disappointed in that pick. I think there was tons of value. Whether you wanted to double dip at corner again, maybe get one of those more questionable guys who injury concerns, something like that. Could have, taken Cleo Shakir, and I probably would have been very okay with it. But you brought up not having the 4th round pick, trading up, losing that, but the value you got with Shakir and Areza in the 5th and 6th is insane. It makes up for that, and I think that's what bumps it up from like a B to that B+, but it's teetering on the edge just because it's the top 2 guys, positions I wanted, not the guys I wanted.
After week 1, it could turn to an A- if Elam has like a pick and looks very competent, and Cook has like 5 catches or something like that. Like, it'd be good. Speaking of that, so before we go, this is my favorite thing. We got the schedule next week.
Oh yeah.
So I want the Bills most likely. The max you can have is 6 primetime NFL games. So the Bills are going to get 6 games this year. They are one of the national draws now, which is crazy to say because my whole life I just looked at every schedule, just imagining scenarios where the Bills might get flexed into Sunday night, and it would never happen. But now it's just like nothing. So what do you think? I'm sure you could know who the Bills are playing this year. are your Bills primetime selections? You don't have to give me weeks or anything unless you want to, like Thanksgiving wise or whatever. But what do you think they're going to be? Or I can start it if you want to go too, because I think I've got these locked down.
I have one that I'm fairly confident in, and I think it's going to be the Bills at the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving.
Thank you. That is one of mine as well. It's
got to
be.
It's that Bills Lions, just the history we have, the between the Wilsons and the Fords dating back for forever. You're welcome for your football team, by the way, Detroit. They'd be gone without Mr. Ralph C. Wilson, so you're welcome for your shitty football team. But outside of that, I think we're pretty much guaranteed a primetime game with New England at some point. They're going to shove that down our throats on a Thursday night. Hopefully in Buffalo again. I can see that happening. So I'm going to definitely say at Detroit Thanksgiving, Thursday night in Buffalo against the Patriots. I think we're going to see a Monday night game against the Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles.
You don't think that's the opener? You think they're going somebody else for the opener?
They might. I
have a hard time seeing the Bills on the opener.
I really want to say it's the opener,
because they could go safe with like Rams, Niners, and who
exactly.
Would be mad about
I think
that?
they go safer. I want it to happen. I think they go safer, and then I'll let you give your other predictions because it's going to be Kansas City most likely, and then maybe Green Bay.
So that's the one I don't think is going to happen. I think CBS is going to make their stand this year and be like, we're taking this Kansas City game because they haven't had it for 2 years. It was Fox and it was NBC. So I think that's a Nance Romo 4:15.
I was just about to say that's a 4:15.
Yeah. So that'll be juicy. So I think I'm with you on Thanksgiving because also for Detroit, you think about Bills Mafia taking over cities. Can you imagine Thanksgiving a 4-hour drive away for a team that's probably going to be like a 3-4 win team at that point? I mean,
take over Detroit.
I'm going to be in Detroit. I'll be in Detroit on Thanksgiving Day if that happens for sure. So, I can't wait for that. That's when I do think they're opening the season at the Rams. I feel like that. I think the Von Miller signing is going to push it over the edge. Just Von with his thing back. Super Bowl favorites versus Super Bowl champs, all that kind of. There's a couple made storylines,
infinite storylines.
Exactly. I do think Packers. I think the Packers is a great Sunday night game in Buffalo. I think the Ravens, a Sunday night game or Monday night game in Baltimore feels like a nice national game. I'm with you with the Pats. I think that'll be in New England though, because I feel like Monday Night Football will definitely take a Bills Dolphins or Bills Jets home game in Buffalo just to get those markets. Probably the Jets, like an early season Bills Jets Monday night game, just so they can get New York City in there, and we probably win like 42-7 on Monday Night Football, and everybody's like, this is the worst Monday Night Football game, and we're just loving every second of it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Those are my 6. That's what I'm locking.
All right. So all right, lock it in. We'll check. We get the schedule in 8 days, about a week from now, next Saturday.
So Monday,
they're rolling it out, right?
Yeah, Monday ESPN's releasing some games. Thursday is everything.
Thursday's everything. All right.
And we'll know when Bills Mafia is coming here to Chicago, Illinois for Soldier Field. That's what I can't wait for. And that'll be a great time for the crowd to this podcast.
Somebody save Justin Fields. Somebody please save Justin. Seattle, make a call. Somebody that needs a quarterback, save Justin Fields from the clutches.
You don't think Byron Pringle, wide receiver 1, is a good idea?
I saw like Pro Football Focus or somebody was like, the Bears offense is stacked, and it's like Justin Fields, it's like Darnell Mooney, Brian Pringle, freaking Cole Kmet. Does he even have 30 catches in his career? God damn! I mean,
it's gonna be
good
tough
luck to them. I love big Justin Fields fan. I hate OSU, but big fan of Justin Fields game, and I feel bad for him in Chicago, but. We're not a Chicago Bears podcast, so that'll do it for us. Thank you again for tuning in for this awesome Season 3 premiere featuring here for Jake Mike. Make sure you check out Happy Hour Hoops as well, because these NBA playoffs are heating up and they got you covered. And shout out to our sponsor up there in the corner, Outlet Liquor, New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? And big news tomorrow. I know, driving by Outlet, you probably saw the sign up there. But tomorrow is National Cosmo Day, and Trainwreck Sports will be live on the scene. Joe Conzi will be in attendance, mixing it up,
guys are so
dealing
lucky.
drinks. I mean, an absolute delight of a human being. The man you want talking to you about alcohol, serving you alcohol, just to hang out with on your Saturday. So make sure you check out Outlet Liquor. Amazing sponsors. We love them. Everyone who tuned in, we love you too. Go Bills. Good.
Go Bills.